My theory is that Lauren is used to dealing with boys. Remember, she was a former school teacher. Part of this feels like Devin just wants to get married so she can help him with his medical bills. Like, I don't want to think that way. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Selena, and today we are reviewing Love is Blind Season 8, Episode 10. Let's get into it. It's starting to get a little bit more juicy. I have a lot more notes about this episode than the last. Alright, we start with Dave and Lauren, and it's already very dramatic. Lauren is on the verge of tears, start to cry a little bit, and she's alone in the Love is Blind apartment. Lauren mentions that Dave hung out with his friends yesterday. It was without Lauren, and she hasn't heard from Dave since 3 a.m. last night when he said he's gonna stay at his apartment alone. Nice. Dave comes in, it's kind of awkward. He says that he saw Love is Blind people at the bar. There's Love is Blind people at the bar. Those are folks that we didn't even get to see on the screen. He mentions Yemi. I wanted to see Yemi. Dave is secretive about it too. He was like, I don't want to call everyone out. There was a lot of Love is Blind people there. Yemi asked if I wanted to meet Molly. I guess she was there, but I said no. That's the stupidest thing that I could have done. So he said he declined to meet Molly. I don't know if that gives him any type of brownie points for leaving Lauren alone so he can hang out with his friends and pod people, whatever. When Lauren was doing her confessional for this scene, I have it in quotes. She says, I'm emotional because I've never felt like this and I've never wanted this to work with someone to this like capacity. So Lauren is all in for this man. I don't know how she's still all in after that, after being left alone and then hearing about him meeting up with pod people and without her and knowing that Molly was there. My theory is that Lauren is used to dealing with boys. Remember, she was a former school teacher. Now she sells educational supplies, but she's used to dealing with children. So the fact that Dave is so immature, I think that's why she has such good communication skills. She's so patient. She is very validating in his feelings, even though he never validates hers. So I think that's why, and that's why it's also frustrating. But now that Lauren's not a teacher anymore, her skills are coming back. And listen, Lauren, I'm really not trying to come for you. I feel for you. But since you're 30, I guess we think of someone who is 30, we just think that they would have more of that discernment because you have such good communication skills. We would think that you would have more of a better judgment. I mean, we're not in this experiment with you. We don't know what it's like to be in those pods. I can tell, Lauren, that you want to be married and you want that solid marriage, but at this point, you know, we can't help you, girl. We really can't help you. Then Lauren does mention that she saw her parents last night, and you could tell David was worried. Why did I call him David? You can tell Dave was worried. He said, wait, you saw him last night? I didn't know that.
My parents are like, I just really don't want to see you get hurt. Mm-hmm. And so like seeing me last night was like hard.
Wait, you saw them last night?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you saw them last night.
The only thing that they knew was like, you were with your friends, I was with them. When they came into town, they were like, are we going to see you on Friday? And I was like, no, because I was like prioritizing your friends. Like, this is the biggest decision we will make in our lives. Mm-hmm. Like, this is every other part of our life beyond this depends on this decision. Mm-hmm. And like, my parents want to meet you. And like,
I just thought that was interesting because you can tell Dave was worried that maybe Lauren would share some of the challenges that's been going on between her and Dave. So Dave is allowed to talk to his friend's sister and parents about the situationship that Lauren had, but Lauren's not allowed to tell her family. That's what I got from that. Lauren says, they don't know anything, they just want me happy. She told Dave that the parents don't know anything about their issues. Lauren also mentions that she said no to seeing her parents on Friday because she was prioritizing Dave's friends because this is the biggest decision that Lauren and Dave will make in their lives. So Lauren's saying no to her parents. Hey, don't come Friday. I'm going to meet Dave's friends because this is the biggest decision of our lives. So Dave's friends are above Lauren's parents. That doesn't even make sense. If that was the only time that Dave's family could meet Lauren, I could see that. But Lauren, oh my gosh. So we see that conversation and I guess it ends okay. They're just like, we're still going to try to make this work. Monica and Joey. Monica's sister offers to take engagement photos for Monica and Joey. And I think she does like more candid style pictures. So that was cool to see. They end up doing the photo shoot. Then they address Monica's sister not liking Joey, not getting a good first impression of Joey. Monica says, I feel like you didn't give Joey a fair shake. Joey asks Monica's sister, is there anything that gave her a bad impression? And Monica's sister gave the stupidest answer ever. She says, I think it was the energy levels. But she was basically saying that Monica's family are nappers. So she's worried about Joey's energy levels because Monica's family likes to nap. Monica has energy because she naps. She says Monica has a lot of energy, so she was just concerned about the energy levels not matching, but we see that with couples too. One might be more outgoing, one might be more introverted. It still works. Joey was like, I can assure you that there's times where I don't have a lot of energy and my intentions are pure. I'm not always like that. I mean, I'm sure his energy levels were high because they were doing a fam jam. Wouldn't you want to have high energy for a fam jam because you were getting up and dancing? Just a stupid cop-out excuse from Monica's sister because she's jealous. The sister plays off her behavior as being protective and it coming off as harsh. That's still kind of the same energy that we got from last season with Hannah. She was like, I'm just direct. You know, that's kind of what Monica's sister was doing. I'm just protective and it comes off as harsh. That is not an apology, but she does give a really diluted apology. I'm just being protective and it came off as harsh and I'm sorry. Like, that's how she said it. And so Joey said, it's okay. Then later, Monica's sister says, you know, seeing you guys today, I see it now. I see that you like each other. And then Monica and Joey are just kind of like, like, they're just not buying it. You can tell. Monica's sister gives a backhanded compliment. She was like, I can always tell when couples like each other because during the photo shoot, if they're not listening to me when I'm giving directions and they're doing their own little flirtatious yeah, that was still backhanded. You can't say, hey, I'm sorry, and then say, I can tell you guys like each other because you weren't listening to me when I was trying to take photos of you. Monica's sister does have a confessional and she says that she likes Joey and she can see him being a part of the family, so I guess we wash our hands with that. Sara and Ben talk about that TikTok video. Ben talks about how he was confused that the TikTok girl was hurt since they kind of dated 4 years ago. Ben says, it was so long ago that I didn't think to bring it up. I feel like that's an excuse because you still could have warned your fiance on what to expect when you saw it, because Ben admits to seeing it first. So they end up resolving it because Sara's like, yeah, I don't think I should know about every single girl you've dated before me. And she says, everyone has a past. Devin and Virginia. So Devin meets Virginia's mom, and this is a really good interaction. So Virginia's mom, her name is Mary. I like how instead of just interviewing the fiance of her child, she interviewed both Virginia and Devin. And Mary had some really good questions. She was asking Devin to tell Mary about himself. Devin was just saying that he loves her daughter and that he's very excited. They had really good connections in the pods. He also mentions that he comes from parents who have been married for a long time, so he feels like he has a good example of love. Virginia's mom, Mary, mentions how she's divorced and she's curious if that would affect Virginia and Devin's marriage. Virginia's like, no, mom. Devin says no because he knows that Virginia has great relationships with both of her parents and it's still good even though they're divorced. Virginia mentions how divorce isn't always a bad thing, it just didn't work out, and I totally agree. We get back to the couple of the season, Dave and Lauren. Dave meets Lauren's mom. Lauren's dad, Dave, doesn't want to be on camera, so that's why we only see Dave meet Lauren's mom. In this scene, it's almost like Lauren's mom is trying to convince Dave to just marry her daughter now in a way and stop worrying about the situationship, which is really sad, to be honest, because it's like the mom's trying to convince Dave how great Lauren is. Lauren's mom, Kim, also asks about meeting Dave's family, and Dave makes an excuse. He says his dad is a warm weather guy, so he travels a lot, and he doesn't know if he can make it, which sounds very elective. If he's a warm weather guy, and that's why he travels, then he could definitely come back. And keep in mind, during this time frame, it's March. The weather's getting warmer. Then in the same scene, Dave says his family will make it. Like, his family will do what they need to do to make it and support Dave. He just keeps contradicting himself. Lauren's mom, Kim, mentions Dave's sister. Then Dave talks about how his sister is protective. Kim is joking, but she's like, why don't you tell her that Lauren is super boring? You know, she's not trying to be on reality TV and just use Dave as a pawn.
What is your sister scared of for you?
She was just being a protective older sister. He was terrified I was going to end up with some girl that was just on there to be famous, or like some girl that was just in it for the wrong reasons and making me look bad. She had all the right concerns, and like it all came from like a very lovable place.
So does she know Lauren's one of the most boring people that, or should I
haven't told her that yet. Maybe I should tell her that you're
Tell her
super
I'm
boring.
really boring. Not fun at all.
She's not cute. Super boring. I hate being around her.
Remember how I said Dave normally talks monotone a lot unless he's talking about his lovely sister? When Kim is like, tell your sister that Lauren's super boring, Dave uses this as an opportunity to tell us how he really feels about Lauren, but let it pass off as a joke. He said, Lauren's super boring, not cute, I hate being around her. Lauren, he just told you exactly how he feels. He doesn't think you're cute because he already told you were ugly for being 30. Not attractive anymore, he said. He also said he didn't like your new hair when you had the French braids in Honduras. He also has not been with you at the apartment. In episode 4 or 5, Lauren, you mentioned that he's been gone for a week. Not to mention the night before, he stayed at his own apartment. So he does hate being around you. Then Kim mentions that at some point your friends and family with opposing views just have to realize that it's not about them. And then Dave is agreeable, like, yeah. He says that he and Lauren, they're having hard conversations, and instead of him saying, I'll come back later, they work through it, which is definitely not true. That was a hard watch, and that should have been another opportunity to break up. They're still together this episode so far that we see. Taylor and Daniel play putt-putt. Everything's going well for them. They talk about their wedding songs. They talk about getting their marriage license soon. That's pretty much it. Devin and Virginia. They're sitting in bed. They kind of recap how meeting Virginia's mom went really well. Virginia's like, hey, we only have 2 weeks left. Is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything we haven't covered? I want you to think. And she's right, because, you know, things are seemingly going well. She wants to know if they're on the same page about things or if there's been something that they need to discuss. So Virginia asked this a couple times. Devin keeps saying like, no, I think we covered everything. Yeah. He's just so nonchalant about it, and I feel like he was kind of getting annoyed that she kept asking. Virginia's like, well, what makes you mad? What would make you not sleep in the same bed with me? And then she throws out another question. She says, what about politics? Because I guess they haven't talked about that yet. Devin asks Virginia if she votes with her religion and faith in mind. And Virginia has the best answers to all of this. Virginia's like, I mean, yeah, I think so. And she basically says, I think everyone, to an extent, votes with their faith. She also states that she usually votes Democratic. She believes in abortion rights. She believes in gay rights.
I think gay people should have rights. And it's hard because all of those things are like becoming political, you know what I mean, conversations again, when it's like I thought we were so far past that, but we're not. So it is an interesting time to live in the United States because I thought people were going to be able to have abortions. I didn't know we had to go back and debate that one again. What do you think? Care to comment or no?
I don't know. I kind of go back and forth, and I'm not really like, I feel like women have, like, it's their bodies and what they want to do with their bodies, but I also think the man and the woman that the situation is happening, if she's pregnant and they're deciding what to do with it, it should be both.
Oh, you
both
mean
of them
he should
he
should be able to say his opinion.
Yeah, his opinion on it. Do you think that or no?
Obviously, like, that's the, like, I think ethical and moral thing to do is, like, to communicate with your partner about the possible life. But I think that regardless, women should have the choice to do what they want with their bodies. So we're in alignment on that?
Yeah.
So we're going to vote the same when we go to the polls or different? What do we take from that?
If we voted differently, what would that mean to you?
I feel like once you see that Virginia says she normally votes Democratic, you can kind of see Devin shut down a little bit, and even the producers zoom in on Devin with his arms crossed. Devin asks, if we vote differently, what would that mean to you? That tells me that he's more conservative. That basically insinuates that he's more conservative, and Devin kind of admits that because he said his parents are more conservative, so the whole family kind of votes the same. Virginia thought that was interesting because she says there's not a lot of Black Republicans, and it shows, and she's like, not just you guys, but just in general. I mean, it's true. I thought it was interesting because Virginia, she was really open to continue that conversation, but Devin just remains quiet. I interpreted that as Devin is more conservative. He didn't like what Virginia said about her values. When abortion came up, Devin said, I go back and forth about it. I think that the man should have a say too about the baby. It was just interesting. Honestly, I can see having different values be a reason to break up. Even like for me, if my husband didn't have the same values, I don't know how far I could go. When Devin asked about voting differently, what would that mean? She says it really depends on how far on the political spectrum that they are. If they're really far apart on different ends, not kind of meeting in the middle somewhere, then she doesn't think that can work out. And I agree. I think for me, if me and my husband are on different ends of the spectrum, I don't think I could do it. I really don't. Part of this feels like Devin just wants to get married so she can help him with his medical bills. Like, I don't want to think that way. I think Devin is a good guy, but it seems like he didn't want to have that political conversation because he knows that could be a deal breaker. But that's what I think. What do you think about this conversation? I was kind of surprised that he said that he implied that he's more conservative, to be honest. Then we have Sara and Ben, and I really enjoyed watching this scene. Sara and Ben are in a bar, and they meet Sara's sister Lisa and her partner Kelsey. Sara and Ben are just talking about how they have a lot in common, they had a good connection in the pods, blah blah blah. Sara also mentions how Ben accepts equality, and that meant a lot to her. Something that's annoying to me is when people make certain things their personality. Sara has made her supporting Black Lives Matter her personality when it's convenient. She's made being an ally to the LGBTQ plus community her personality, but she picks and chooses when she wants to fully support that. If you're going to support something, you have to support that through and through. Sara's talking about how her and Ben have the same values. Then Sara's sister Lisa asks, well, Sara, you don't go to church. Ben goes to church a lot. How are we navigating that? Sara says she's open, but if they don't accept same-sex marriage, then I don't want to go. Then Kelsey, who is Lisa's partner, she calls Sara out. And she's like, can we just pause? I hate the word acceptance because it implies that we're doing something wrong and we have to accept you guys all day, every day. And I loved that so much. I really like Kelsey. And you can tell Sara's face, she is just like, she did not like what Kelsey said, but what Kelsey said is the truth. Sara, you can't keep doing that. If you get called out, you got to accept it. And part of having values is growing. We're continuously learning. We're not going to be perfect all the time, but if we continue to do that education and research and advocacy, which is something that you act like you do, the only values that they talk about are religion. They didn't talk about the Black Lives Matter values that Sara and allegedly Ben may have. So I thought that was interesting that still got brushed under the rug. And Kelsey even said, Sara, I'm not calling you out. I'm not coming for you, but can we just not use that terminology? Ben then says, I'm financially conservative, but I'm socially liberal. And you can tell Kelsey and Lisa are kind of like, what the heck did he just say? Then they ask Sara, do you agree with that too? And Sara's like, yeah, I agree. I think I'm financially conservative and socially liberal as well. Like, it just seems like, Sara, you need to pick a personality. You can't just say, since your sister is LGBTQ+, you're automatically an ally. Because what happened with George Floyd is wrong, you're automatically supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. Because Ben thinks he's financially conservative and socially liberal, that you think that too. Then Kelsey says, and I quote, I need to read this verbatim, I think you guys need to have serious conversations about politics because he's in a different privilege bucket than you are. And she says that in front of Ben too, which is the truth. Sara, this reminds me of you keeping the tags on all your clothes. Are you doing that because you can't afford it? Which is totally fine and understandable, but that does show that you're in a different privilege bucket financially.
So it's very modern.
There are things that women experience that men do not in this world and in this country. How you view and how you go matter.
Yes.
And there are things that we have to consider that you guys don't.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not coming for you, but there's people that are fiscally conservative and socially liberal that probably vote differently than you.
Right, well, yeah.
And that impacts your right. I think you guys need to have serious conversations about politics because he's in a different privileged bucket than you're in.
We talk so deeply.
This is gonna raise my blood pressure. Then we see Sara deflect from this topic. Again, with the values, did you notice how they didn't bring up that Ben didn't vote either? So then Ben gets everyone drinks, and then it's Kelsey, Lisa's partner, Lisa, Sara's sister, and Sara at the table. Sara's kind of asking, like, what do you think? Do I have your blessing? And then Lisa's like, what do you mean blessing? Because again, they're not going to church every single week. I think they're kind of straying away from Catholicism because they grew up that way. This is just from what I got from what Sara has mentioned in the past in the pods. I think they just kind of mentioned that they're concerned. They don't really feel it. Then you could see Sara trying to advocate for Ben. Like, we're basically the same person. Like, we agree on a lot of things. I've never felt like this before. I don't want to feel like I have to convince you guys. And then Kelsey is like, you don't have to convince us. If this was any other person, we'd still feel the same way, Sara. It's just because we love you and we're meeting him for the first time and we're just feeling it out, but we're not necessarily feeling it. And then Kelsey says, you say you're the same person, but you would want a person that compliments you, not necessarily the same person as you. And then you can see Sara just thinking like, oh, I don't like him. I initially liked Sara, but I feel like she just needs to pick a personality, and I really can't get over the whole values conversation. Let's move on to the next couple. Last, we have Lauren and Dave. They go bowling. I think this would be a good opportunity for maybe Dave to bring his friends. You know why? Because Dave just talks about his friends during the bowling date. He makes fun of his friend who bowls. His friend has his own bowling ball, a bowling bag, and he bowls with 2 hands, but he's really good. And then you have Lauren with her teacher skills, and she's like, oh, that reminds me, you know how like kids kind of talk at you? They're like, I like apples, my mom does this. That's how it is when Dave's talking to Lauren. It's just so frustrating when people talk to you about people you don't know for such a long time and over and over and over. Dave talking about his friends, his sister, his parents all the time to Lauren and not letting her meet them is so frustrating. At some point during bowling, Dave mentions his sister and that Dave didn't think he'd get this far in Love is Blind. He said he led his sister on, which, what? I guess he's insinuating that Dave's sister didn't think that Dave would actually get engaged, actually go to the altar, which is super weird. Then we find out that Dave had already met Lauren's dad, Dave, off camera. So Dave and Dave met. I get the impression that Lauren's daddy, Dave, kind of interrogated Dave. Even though they have the same name, I'm just going to refer to Lauren's dad as just Lauren's dad. Dave said it was a lot for him to handle, meeting dad off camera and all the questions. Lauren said, well, it's a lot that your sister doesn't want to meet me. Dave says his family doesn't just meet anyone, and he doesn't want to waste their time, and he doesn't want to waste his sister's time either. That is so disrespectful. That's insinuating that he's not serious about Lauren. Then Lauren says, if you don't want to waste your sister's time, let me know. And he says, can we not have this conversation here? Then the episode ends. Whew, you guys. The fact that Dave willingly wasted Lauren's time this entire time. He knew during the reveal. He could have broke it off during the honeymoon, but he just kept dragging it on, using the situationship as a pawn to get out, using his sister and his family's and his friends' disapproval to get out. And it's basically because I think he wants Lauren to cut it off. He doesn't want to look like the one who broke Lauren's heart. But instead, he's willing to humiliate her, waste her time, and get all this screen time for no reason. But hey, I'm just here to be entertained, I guess. I'm going to end this episode with some positivity. Lauren, I know you're getting a lot of heat right now, and sorry that I said some of it. However, I do think that you've probably already learned a lot from this experience. I think you have a good heart. I think that you will find your person one day. And you know what? Maybe Dave was the one to teach you things about yourself. You know, I feel like you've shown him so much grace. And what we see in the show, I feel like we see you still persevere. You continue to have so much patience. If I were in your shoes, I don't know, I feel like I would have cussed him out or something. But, you know, it's great that you still showed a great example of good communication skills. And I think you will find the one day. I feel like Dave probably made you feel really small and ugly and boring, but I don't think you are. So with that said, that is the end of this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this episode. This is just so messy. I guess for all the yawns that we had for episodes 1 through 6, this is kind of the juice that we're getting into. I don't know. As always, like, share, subscribe. If you don't, I just appreciate you being here, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!